My students often ask me what Impressionism is all about, what it's for. They very often say they don't understand it, they don't like it. So what is the purpose? What's the purpose of Impressionist painting, and also what's the purpose of studying it? It's an understandable reaction, and it's a very good question, and I want to try and provide some sort of answer. To do that, I'm going to use the genre, which is a delicate one, but also an important one, of the female nude. In this case, we're looking at Cézanne's A Modern Olympia. And to understand this one, you need to look at its precursor, which was Manet's original Olympia. Here's the Manet original, 1863, Cézanne's was 1873, and in many ways she's a traditional nude, very clearly a representational painting, very nicely delineated body, and you're given a very good look at it. Now this, in its way, this is in line with the normal tradition of the representation of the female nude. A couple of examples here that come from the illustration book. This is 1525, and lots of naked flesh, very pleasingly displayed for the male eye. But the key feature I want you to look at is look at where they're all looking. They're looking sideways, they're looking upwards, they're looking away, they're looking downwards. Here's another one. Again, lead of the central character is looking downwards, upwards, downwards, downwards, away, over to the side, all that kind of stuff. Now here's the key thing about Manet's Olympia. She's looking straight back at you. The old nudes looking away were demure, shy, and yet available. In other words, everything the traditional patriarch wants in a woman. This one is challenging the power of the patriarchal male gaze. She's looking straight back at you. She's saying, yeah, I'm naked, so. And this was an immense challenge to hundreds of years of patriarchal portrayal of women in mythical scenes and in biblical scenes and in classical scenes, which made it all right to have lots of female flesh on your living room walls. This one is basically challenging the power in the genre, and although it's basically a perfectly representational painting, it really subverts, it really challenges the social and aesthetic conservatism of the time. This is the mid to late 19th century, when there is an immense upheaval going on throughout the whole of the developed world. Industry is arriving, social norms are being challenged, and all sorts of things are happening, and this needs to be seen in that kind of context. The old way of doing things, the static hierarchy of patriarchy, was being challenged in the same way as many other things were being challenged. So in this case, it is basically just where her eyes are looking that makes the difference. So what is it about this one that is worth looking at in any way whatsoever? Now, the first thing I think we need, I feel very strongly about this picture. He's called it A Modern Olympia, and I think that's really cheating, because Manet's Olympia was modern, and it was, as I've said, a massive challenge to the status quo, to the patriarchal way of doing things. And I think Manet actually broke a lot more rules with just that one issue of where Olympia was looking than Cézanne himself breaks in this picture. But nevertheless, Cézanne does do some very interesting things. You can't just look at this picture and appreciate it. That's simply not allowed in this genre. It doesn't work. You've got basically a lot of paint, and you've got a rather chaotic picture, and in a sense this is one of the main purposes of Impressionism. They don't want you to look at a female body. They want you to look at the light and the shade and the paint and the way in which the female body, the representation of it, is made. They want you to examine how painting comes to be a substitute for reality. He's got some good ways of doing this. Just if you look at, for instance, at the bowl of fruit, over here. There's lots of bits of daubs of essentially rectangular bits of paint, and yet if you look at the thing as a whole, you get the idea of a kind of riot of colour, a riot of nature, a real bowl full of flowers that works a treat. If you look at the maid in the background here, he's managed to create a sense of movement, particularly in this arm. So you get a sense that there's something going on. There is also the issue, he's constructed this painting completely differently to the way Manet composed his Olympia. For a start, the viewer is in the picture. The viewer is not you. You're in the sense standing on the guy's shoulder looking at him. Cézanne in a way gives you more of a contrast between the female body here, the naked female body, and this completely clothed, outdoor clothed gentleman. He's still got his coat on and he's still holding a stick in his hand. The painting is composed really quite differently. With Olympia, we're fairly close up and the scene is filled with her and her maid. With the modern Olympia, she is quite a long way away from us in the middle of the picture. And it's difficult to say where the eye is supposed to be drawn. Is the centre of the picture the man? Is it her? Is it a combination of her and the maid? There's an awful lot of extra painting over here with bits and pieces. The flowers up here pull you away from them. There's the hat thrown away over here, which distracts. And in a way, this is Cézanne rebelling against rules of composition, which are that the eye should be led to a point. To a degree, that happens in the Manet. There's a line that sweeps up through the body, and eventually you arrive at the face. And if you're looking, that's where the eyes stick, because she's doing something so differently. The female maid over here is looking in this direction, so you're being led towards that point. With the Cézanne, you don't know where to put your eyes, and I think that is part of the point. The little animal down here is also a distraction. I think over here there's a cat, and I think that this is supposed to be a cat as well. It actually looks to me like a half-drowned terrier, which actually has more personality than almost anything else in the picture, but maybe that's just me. He is playing, Cézanne, I mean, not the dog. He's playing with paint, he's playing with composition, he's inviting you to look at what makes up a picture in a very different way to the old representational way, which allowed for masses of assumptions to be made and for masses of things like the patriarchal relationship between men and women to go unquestioned. It's an intelligent painting. It's a painting that asks questions and invites you to consider how you're going to answer them. I wouldn't want to have this one hanging on my wall. I'd love to have her hanging on my wall. I think she's a very comely woman and she's got guts. That's absolutely wonderful. But you appreciate this painting an entirely different way to the way in which you appreciate this one. This one actually demands a lot more of you. It demands you to start work on how you interact with the painting, and to a very large degree, that's the point. If that's been helpful, then I'm very pleased. If it hasn't been helpful, then I'm sorry I wasted 10 minutes of your life, but I hope actually that it has been helpful.